They say gods never die. But what if one god was never meant to exist? Long before Thor Odinson ever lifted his mighty hammer, before the first spark of Asgard's golden age, there was another being. A god forged in the void, where light itself feared to tread. His name was Null. And unlike Thor, who drew his power from thunder and valor, Null drew his strength from darkness and hatred. When the universe was young, a black sea of nothingness, Null was its only inhabitant. Then, from that void came the first light. It burned through the darkness, shattering Null's peace. To him, light was an invader, a blinding insult to the emptiness he loved. So he struck back. From his own shadow, Null shaped a sword made of pure darkness, a weapon that pulsed with living hatred. That sword would one day become the infamous All Black, the first symbiote, the ancestor of venom itself. With All Black, Null began his war. He killed a celestial, one of the cosmic architects of creation, slicing through its divine armor in a single motion. From its corpse, Null crafted armor and weapons, birthing a god not of creation, but of unmaking. But the gods of light retaliated. They struck him down, cast him from the heavens, and banished him into the abyss. Yet darkness never dies. There, in the shadows of forgotten galaxies, Null waited. He watched civilizations rise and fall, gods born and buried, while he whispered to the darkness, feeding it with his hate. Slowly, he began to create life, not like the gods of light, but creatures bound to his will, symbiotes born from his shadow. Over centuries, they spread like a plague across the stars, infecting worlds, consuming gods, enslaving their hosts. They carried his essence, his voice, and through them Null remained eternal. Thor, the god of thunder, was born eons later. His name carried across realms. Champion of Asgard, protector of Midgard, wielder of Mjolnir, the hammer forged from the heart of a dying star. Yet even Thor, with all his storms, knew nothing of the ancient god that slept beneath creation. Until one day, his thunder reached too far. During a battle on an alien world, young Thor found an entire civilization slaughtered, its gods impaled upon black spears, their temples crawling with dark tendrils. He felt it. Something wrong with the air, as if the sky itself was bleeding fear. Among the ruins, he found one survivor, a dying god who whispered a single name before fading to dust, Gorr, the god butcher. Thor didn't yet know it, but that name would lead him straight into the heart of Null's darkness. Because Gorr was not a god. He was the instrument of one. As Thor's hammer crackled with power, a shadow stirred deep in the cosmos. Eyes opened cold, red, ancient. Null smiled. After billions of years, his war against the gods was about to begin again. And this time, even the god of thunder would tremble before the lord of the abyss. The story of Gorr the god butcher begins not in heaven, but in despair. On a nameless, barren world beneath twin suns, Gorr was born into suffering. His people lived without mercy from the gods they worshipped, starving, praying, dying. For generations they begged for salvation. None came. When his wife and child perished in his arms, Gorr cursed the skies. He screamed that no gods existed, that faith was a lie. But that day he was proven wrong. As he wandered the wasteland, broken and hollow, two figures fell from the heavens, locked in battle. One was clad in radiant gold, blazing with divine light. The other was wrapped in living shadow, a being of impossible darkness. Both were gods and both were dying. When the golden god begged for help, Gorr's faith snapped forever. From the black god's wounds spilled a strange, liquid darkness, a sentient ooze that slithered toward Gorr, whispering promises. It merged with him, crawled into his flesh, and wrapped itself around his body like armor. The voice that entered his mind was Null's. The weapon was the all-black the necrosword, the same blade Null once used to slay a celestial. Now it had found a new host. From that moment, Gorr ceased to be mortal. The symbiote transformed him, gifting him strength enough to kill gods, speed beyond lightning, and immortality born of the void. His purpose became clear: to cleanse the universe of every god. And so began the God Butcher's crusade. Across centuries, Gorr tore through pantheons. He impaled deities on spikes of living darkness, bled them dry, and left their temples in ruin. His army grew: countless enslaved symbiotes, shadow dragons, and weapons of black tendrils born from Null's power. Each god he killed made the All-Black stronger, and Null's consciousness pulsed through every strike. But Gorr wasn't just killing gods. He was hunting for something greater, proof that divinity itself was a disease. When Thor first encountered him, he was young and reckless, wielding his hammer with pride. Gorr beat him, left him broken and bleeding among the corpses of forgotten gods. Yet Thor survived, and that failure haunted Gorr for millennia. Over the next 3,000 years, Gorr perfected his war. He built the God Bomb, a weapon powered by enslaved gods, capable of erasing every divine being across all of time. 3 Thors, the young Viking Thor, the Avenger Thor, and the All-Father Thor of the far future, united to stop him. Together, they fought across time itself, lightning clashing against shadow. But what neither Thor nor Gorr understood then was that Null's influence still pulsed in the blade. Every god Gorr killed, every ounce of hatred he poured into his crusade, it fed Null. The Necrosword was not a tool. It was a parasite, slowly awakening its creator through the blood of gods. And in the far corners of space, Null stirred. His tendrils reached out through the void, calling to the fragments of himself scattered across galaxies. The symbiotes, the darkness, the void spawn. They answered. When Thor finally struck Gorr down, destroying the God Bomb and shattering the All-Black into nothingness, he thought it was over. The weapon dissolved into black mist, lost to time. But Null's will never faded. The pieces of the All-Black scattered across the cosmos, and from them new life began to form, the first of the Clintar, the symbiote race. Thousands of years later, one of those symbiotes would reach Earth, bonding with Eddie Brock, creating venom. And through venom, the echo of Null's voice would whisper once more, reshaping destiny itself. When the time came, Null awoke fully. No longer a shadow, no longer a myth. He descended upon the universe he once despised, bringing with him an army of black dragons that blotted out the stars. His power dwarfed the celestials. His presence silenced the heavens. Even Galactus trembled before him. But one god dared to rise again, Thor, now king of Asgard. He had faced gods, titans, and devourers of worlds. But this time he faced the creator of darkness itself. Null's laughter echoed across the cosmos as the skies of Earth turned black. The ancient war between light and shadow was no longer a legend. It had returned. And this time, the storm of Thor's lightning would strike the god of the abyss himself. Darkness swallowed the stars. Every world trembled beneath Null's arrival. From his throne of living shadow, he descended upon Earth, an endless storm of symbiote dragons spreading across continents like a plague. Cities vanished beneath oceans of black tendrils. The Avengers fought, but their strength was dust against the void. Null's presence silenced everything. He reached into the minds of mortals and gods alike, whispering one terrible truth. I am the first. You are all mistakes. Even Thor, now the All-Father of Asgard, felt the pull, a cosmic dread that no lightning could burn away. His hammer sparked dimly beneath the weight of that darkness. And then they met. When Thor's lightning cut through the clouds, it struck Null's armor, and for the first time, the god of thunder saw his enemy clearly. Skin pale as starlight, eyes burning red, his very body pulsing with the living black of symbiotes. He was neither alive nor dead, a god older than creation itself. Their first clash shattered the skies. Lightning and shadow tore through the heavens as Asgardian thunder met abyssal darkness. Every strike from Mjolnir lit the world for an instant, before Null's shadow devoured it again. But Thor was not alone. The symbiotes had claimed many heroes. Even Venom, their reluctant son, had fallen. Yet within that darkness, something stirred. The symbiote hive remembered. It remembered Null's tyranny. It remembered freedom. And through that memory, Eddie Brock rose. He had been torn apart, broken, consumed. But when the symbiote called, he answered. Bonded once again, he became more than venom. He became the god of symbiotes, wielding the same power that once belonged to Null himself. Eddie soared beside Thor, wings of living shadow cutting through the storm. For the first time in eternity, light and darkness fought side by side. Null laughed, a sound that split the earth. He summoned blades of abyssal energy, hurling them with godlike fury. But Thor's thunder met them mid-air, dissolving them into storms of fire. The All-Father and the Abyss collided once more, their power shaking the fabric of reality. And then venom struck. From within the hive, Eddie called upon the collective will of every symbiote ever born, every fragment of Null's creation that had tasted freedom. Their combined force roared through him like a tidal wave of light. With Thor's help, Venom seized the necrosword, the weapon that began it all. Now reforged in living symbiote matter, it became a blade of both darkness and defiance. Null staggered as Thor's lightning struck him once more, splitting his armor open. For the first time since creation, the god of the abyss bled. Eddie seized the moment. He drove the sword through Null's chest, channeling every ounce of symbiote energy into the strike. The blade burned brighter than lightning, brighter than any sun. Null screamed, not in pain but in fury, as the very darkness he had created turned against him. The symbiotes rose from the ground, freeing themselves, abandoning their master. Their connection to him, the hive's oldest link, snapped like a broken chain. Thor raised his hammer. Venom raised the necrosword. Together, they unleashed a storm that tore across the cosmos. Light and shadow intertwined in one final, deafening roar. When the light faded, Null was gone. His body fell into the core of a burning star, his essence erased by the union of his own creation and the thunder that once defied him. Silence followed. The symbiotes, once enslaved, became peaceful, a free species at last. Thor lowered his hammer, exhausted. He looked at Venom, at Eddie, and nodded. For all his rage, for all his chaos, Venom had become a god who chose mercy. In that moment, Thor understood. Power alone doesn't make a god. It's the will to protect, to endure, to defy despair. That is divinity. The universe began to heal. Light returned to the stars. Yet, in the deepest corners of space, the void still whispered. Because darkness never dies, it only sleeps. And somewhere, beyond the edge of reality, a single ember of Null's essence floated, waiting for the day it might rise again. Because gods may fall, but stories and shadows never truly end. So, if you love the hidden legends of gods, monsters, and cosmic wars that shaped Marvel's universe, make sure to subscribe. There are still secrets buried in the stars, waiting to be told.